Imagine waking up before the sun each weekday, barely able to keep your eyes open, and then being expected to learn, take tests, and stay focused for 7 hours straight. For many high school students, this isn't imagination, it's reality. Alarm clocks go off, early mornings feel rushed, and by the time students arrive at school, many already feel exhausted. Yet schools still expect students to be alert, motivated, and ready to perform at high levels. Most high school classes start very early in the morning, often before 8 a.m. While that schedule may work for adults, it does not work for teenagers. Teens are still developing physically and mentally, and their sleep needs are very different from adults. Today, I want to persuade you that high school students should start classes later in the morning because early start times lead to sleep deprivation, harm student performance and safety, and that changing start times would benefit students, schools, and communities as a whole. First, it's important to understand why early start times are so important for teenagers, such a problem for teenagers. During adolescence, the body's internal clock, also known as the circadian rhythm, naturally shifts later. This means that teens do not feel sleepy until later at night and have a harder time falling asleep early, even when they try. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, teenagers need between 8 and 10 hours of sleep each night in order to function properly. However, most high school students get far less than that on school nights. This lack of sleep is not because teenagers are lazy, irresponsible, or staying up late on purpose. It's largely biological. Their brains simply aren't ready to shut down in the early evening. As a result, when schools require students to wake up extremely early, teens are forced to function on an insufficient amount of sleep. Telling teenagers to just go to bed earlier doesn't solve the problem. Even when teens lie down early, their bodies are not prepared to fall asleep. Many students lie awake for long periods of time, staring at the ceiling, knowing they need rest but unable to get it. Over time, this creates a cycle of chronic sleep deprivation where students never fully catch up on the sleep they are missing. This lack of sleep has serious consequences. Sleep deprivation negatively affects academic performance, mental health, and physical safety. Research published by the American Academy of Pediatrics shows that students who do not get enough sleep struggle with attention, memory, and decision making. When students are tired, it becomes harder to focus during lectures, retain information, and perform well on tests. Even highly motivated students may see their grades suffer simply because their brains are not fully alert. Beyond academics, sleep deprivation also takes a toll on mental health. According to sleep experts like Judith Owens, insufficient sleep in adolescence is linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, irritability, and mood disorders. When students are constantly tired, everyday stressors feel much more overwhelming. Small problems feel bigger, emotions are harder to control, and motivation decreases. Over time, this can affect a student's well-being and enjoyment of school. Safety is another major concern. Drowsy driving is especially dangerous for teenage drivers. Many high school students drive themselves to school early in the morning when they're not fully awake. Studies have found that communities with early school start times experience higher rates of morning car accidents involving teenagers. When students are driving to school half awake, their reaction times are much slower and their ability to make safe decisions is reduced. This not only puts students at risk, but everybody else as well. The good news is that this problem has a realistic and proven solution: starting school later. Schools have shifted start times to later in the morning and have seen clear improvements. A major study conducted by Kyla Wallstrom found that schools with later start times experience better attendance, improved grades and reduced tardiness, and better overall student well-being. Students were more alert in class, more engaged in learning, and better prepared to succeed academically. Some people argue that late start times would interfere with sports and after-school activities or transportation schedules. While these concerns are understandable, many schools have made that change successfully, adjusted bus routes, practice times, and activity schedules. In fact, some schools reported that students had more energy for schools and extracurricular activities because they were better rested. When students get enough sleep, they are not only better learners, but better athletes and participants as well. Starting school later doesn't mean less learning, it just means better learning. When students are well rested, they're more alert, more focused, and more capable of critical thinking. Teachers also benefit because they are working with students who are more engaged and responsive in the classroom. In conclusion, early high school times contribute to chronic sleep deprivation, student harm, health, and academic performance, and increased safety risks. Research consistently shows that delaying start times leads to better academic outcomes, improved mental health, and safer communities. If schools truly want their students to perform at the best, they need to align the schedules with how teenagers actually function. Supporting later start times is not about convenience, it's about giving students the opportunity to succeed.